What's going on, you guys? It's Brandon here with Philly the podcast. And yes, as you can see, Joe's not with us today, but I went ahead and got my buddy Scott. If you don't remember him, he has already been on the show. He was with us for our mock draft series. Scott, say hi to the people.
Hey, how's Philly doing? I'm hopefully going to be up there pretty soon, but yeah, Raiders Eagles coming up, man. It's going to be fun to talk about it.
Now, for the people that don't know, that didn't see the mock draft series, tell them where they can find you and a little bit about you.
Sure, you can see my Twitter handle below me there at LV Gully. But I am the owner and editor and founder of VegasSportsToday.com. It's a website that covers all Las Vegas sports. It started as a Raiders website. It was Silver and Black Today, which became a podcast. We were a podcast of the year in 2018 in Nevada for the Nevada Press Association. That led to a radio show, and I was on last year daily. I had a show on the Raiders flagship station, Raider Nation Radio in Las Vegas, and now have a show on 98.5 The Fan in Las Vegas, Silver and Black Today Game Day, which runs every Sunday morning before the Raiders play. And then I also have a show on Friday nights on the Mightier 1090 down in Southern California called Silver and Black Tonight. So all over the radio. So they can find us at VegasSportsToday.com, and you can stream if somebody wants to listen to more. I'm going to have a bunch of Philly guys on this week. So you can go to your podcast feed wherever you get your podcast, and you can check out Silver and Black Today.
Nice. And I just want to dive back into the draft just for a brief second before we go into this Eagles-Raiders matchup. Now, when we had you on for the mock draft series, you went ahead and you mock draft an offensive lineman, and the Raiders went ahead and drafted one. But you wanted Darrisaw. Darrisaw was there for the pick, But they went with Leatherwood, who was drafted as a tackle, and I was looking at your depth chart. It appears that he's playing guard. What have been your thoughts about Leatherwood, and are you okay? Were you okay with that pick?
You know, I wasn't okay with it for this reason, not because the young man's not a good player, okay? Not because I don't think he could be a good NFL player at all, but because for what seems like the umpteenth time since John Gruden, and we'll get into the John Gruden situation, I'm sure, in a minute, but since John Gruden has been there in Las Vegas with the Raiders, and even though Mike Mayock, a Philly guy, is the GM, really John Gruden made all the decisions. So no one who knew anything that was going on had any question of that. So since John Gruden was there, including with free agents, he had a history of drafting and signing men and putting them in positions they don't naturally play. So you draft Alex Leatherwood, who primarily played guard. He played a little left tackle, and then you put him at right tackle. So, and it's sort of like akin to a left-handed pitcher. And then you go out there and say, hey, I want you to throw with your right hand. Okay. It's tough. I mean, you guys know, a lot about football because I listen to you guys. To switch sides, to switch positions on the offensive line, especially going into the NFL as a rookie, is really, really hard. So he's failed thus far. I don't pass judgment on him. I'm not going to call him a bust. They moved him inside. He had 3 penalties in the win against Denver this past week. And so he still continues to struggle. But I really think you got to wait till year 2 to decide whether or not a guy's going to make it. And so I think the jury's out on Alex Leatherwood. They drafted offensive line. I just think they, again, as Gruden has done so many times in the past, just reached and took a guy they may have been able to get later.
Right. I mean, I think everyone thought the same thing, especially when he was drafted. They were like, Leatherwood, that's who. But hey, if everything works out, I mean, that's what you hope for the best for any of these players. Right. Like when we drafted Rager last year, and now we're still kind of waiting to see, like, did we really get a guy, or did we miss on Justin Jefferson? So we'll see. But like you said, a little bit, the Raiders, you guys start off hot, hit a little turbulence, and then all of a sudden, boom, drama. And now you're without a head coach. What were your thoughts about the whole John Gruden situation before we get into like the player-on-player stuff?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I compartmentalized 2 things with the John Gruden situation. Obviously, there is absolutely no defense. I don't care if it was 10 years ago, if it was 10 minutes ago, for what he put in those emails, right? So there's no excusing that. He was due whatever was due to him, and apparently that was losing his job. The other side of it, though, is the NFL, the 650,000 emails with the Washington football team. We know the stories of that toxic front office. The fact that only John Gruden was exposed by that situation is troubling. And I don't care what team you're a fan of, you have to be concerned with the way the NFL, in my view, is running like a mafia. So they put the hit out on John Gruden. Again, some guys deserve it. That's fine. But what else is going on? They're going to tell me he's the only middle-aged white guy who made statements about women or minorities or gays. I mean, come on, let's face it. We all know what happened. So that's where I kind of compartmentalize it. But I think the Raiders, I think Mark Davis did the right thing. Clearly, they kind of forced his hand with the leak Friday night, and then he didn't fire John Gruden before Sunday's game. And then Monday, the other leaks come out in the New York Times, and then he goes ahead and the deed happens and Gruden resigns. So I think that's that. But I think Mark Davis has been a failure from the start on this as far as leading and coming out and talking to the public. He's said in various statements to reporters via text messages that, hey, this is not what the Raiders stand for. And we all know that. The Raiders have been, going back to Al Davis, they didn't care what color, they don't care where you come from. They just want you to come in and help them win. And so it's always been a diverse group. It's always been somebody, the Raider organization, including Mark Davis, spoke out for racial justice, for social justice throughout all of last summer, all that stuff, right? But Mark Davis now, when this happens, he's mad at the NFL because he thinks it was a hit job, and he may be right. But at the same time, he hasn't gone out in front and led his brand, his team, and talked to everybody to reassure everybody what the Raiders stand for and why it went down the way it did. And even to air his grievances. If he got him with the NFL, from a legal standpoint, maybe he can't say certain things, but he could come out and talk to him. So it was a tumultuous week last week. And so the Raiders, I didn't think they would play that well just because of all the distractions. And then they come out and play their best game of the year. So go figure.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we all thought, I was like, oh, maybe they're going to hit some like real turbulence and really kind of, because you never know. I mean, you lose your head coach, the guy that was leading the team, and then you just don't know who that next leader is. And sometimes you rally for the interim coach or whatnot, but sometimes you don't, and things kind of fall apart. But I mean, you have a veteran quarterback, you have veteran players on the team, so that helps a lot. And I mean, you do have a point. I mean, it did feel like some scapegoat. Like it felt like he was kind of like the scapegoat to try to get the energy off of Washington and whatever is going on. He might have made some people mad too. There's probably a lot going on behind the scenes, but like you said, no matter if it was 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago, he said things in those emails that just you can't take back.
No, you can't take back, and the feelings of betrayal on the team, right? So you look at the comments. Of course, you had the racial comments, then you had the misogynistic comments, and then you had the anti-gay comments. And remember, Carl Nassib, who's the first, starting active player in the NFL to come out as gay, had to take a day off, and a lot of people were criticizing, "Oh, come on, be a man," And I said, "Listen, you don't know. Maybe John Gruden helped him with that." And then we've all been at some point in our life where we've had a friend, a significant other, whoever, coworker who betrayed us. And when you feel that betrayal, that's really hard to overcome. Yeah. And so the fact that they were able to focus and move forward with interim coach Rich Bisaccia was huge for this team. And they really answered a lot of questions. They had a 2-game losing streak before, as you mentioned, coming back. Like they played their first 4-quarter game of the season despite all of that. So it was pretty impressive and pretty surprising.
Yeah. But enough of the drama. Game day's coming up. I mean, it's only Tuesday, but we got time. But game day is going to be here sooner than we know. And it's the Eagles versus Raiders in Las Vegas, in that beautiful stadium that you guys have out there. Now, when talking about those 2 losses, I was looking at the stats, and it seemed that the team, you guys have been kind of shelling the run all season. All your wins, I don't think anyone's had over 100 yards. But those 2 losses, you guys led up, I think it was to the Chargers. Eckler had over 100 yards. And then the following loss, it was like a combination, but it was still a good amount of rushing yards. Do you feel that stopping the run is really in your strong suit, or do you feel like that's something that could be a weakness in a sense, or the weakness on your defense?
No, I do think it's a bit of a weakness. I think if you look at what they've been able to do, the Raiders up front have been phenomenal. The front 4, if you look at the pressure they put on the quarterback, they have the most pressures of any defensive line in the NFL. Now, they're not the best NFL defense overall. Don't get me wrong when I say that. But up front, you have Max Crosby, you have Yannick Ngakoue. You have some of these guys that have been up there. Solomon Thomas, who came over, was sort of a disappointment in San Francisco after being a top draft pick. He's come in 5 years in San Francisco. He had 3 sacks. In 6 games with the Raiders, he's got already 2.5. So they're getting pressure. And in Gus Bradley's cover 3 defense, there's no blitzing. I mean, if you see 1 blitz a game, that's a lot. I mean, that's not exaggerating. The first 4 games of the season, they had 2 blitzes the whole season. So they're getting pressure including on good offensive lines they've been getting pressure with 4 guys. Now, once you get past that line, the linebacking core, which is better, I mean, Denzel Perryman is leading the league in tackles, right? So he's on fire, but that tells you a lot when your linebackers leading in tackles, because when they get past that initial line of defense, then they're racking up some running yards. So that is a weakness for the Raiders defense, as is cornerback right now, just because of injury. You have Damon Arnett, the former first-round draft pick, who's been a big disappointment, but he's out. You have Trayvon Mullen out, so you have Amik Robertson, who's a 5'8" cornerback who usually plays in the slot. He's playing the outside, and they're picking on him. And he's a good player who's developing, but he's playing out of position. And then today they signed Desmond Trufant, right? So they're bringing in some guys to get some bodies in there to help with the injuries that they've had in the defensive backfield. But overall, yeah, the run is a weakness. And at times they can get caught just because of the scheme and what Gus Bradley does on defense.
Right. And I feel like that kind of mirrors the Eagles defense in a sense. The Eagles defense, our defensive line, especially Javon Hargrave, has been going crazy this season. Javon Hargrave has been going insane. And that plays, I mean, everyone on the Eagles Nation, they've been kind of getting mad at Fletcher Cox because his stats aren't saying everything. It doesn't look like he's getting the tackles, getting the sacks, but he's taking on those double teams, which is freeing up a Javon Hargrave now. Do you feel like, because we don't blitz either, so it'll be a surprise for us to blitz too. I don't know if our rookie defensive coordinator is too nervous to blitz. He's too scared to see the deep ball going. I can guarantee that he's going to be playing that kind of defense against you guys, since you guys have Ruggs, the speedster that can go deep and everything like that. Is Carr the kind of guy that will get the ball out quick, that will make it hard on our defense to use the just rushing the 4 defensive linemen?
Yeah, I mean, he's been known out throughout his career for getting the ball out fast. Although this year he's done it less because he's had better offensive line, by the way, because that's been a patchwork situation up front for the Raiders. But at the same time, he's just matured. I mean, you think about an 8-year quarterback and you're saying, wow, he's just maturing. But in some ways, he's just gotten better. It's 4 years in the same system that John Gruden brought in with him. It's the confidence of knowing that you have the tools to get the job done. You have Ruggs, you have Brian Edwards, you have, of course, Darren Waller is one of the best in the league. You have in the slot, you have Hunter Renfrow, who's been a great player for them. So he's got everything he needs, and he's now staying in the pocket longer, stepping up in the pocket. His pocket awareness is so much different. So he might hold on to the ball a little longer than he used to, because he's creating more downfield. But with the Eagles, and you're right, with that defensive front and as good as they've been, he may need to get the ball out quicker, especially with that offensive line, which did play better against Denver. But Denver's not exactly, even though Denver has a good defense, I think the defense up front for the Eagles, the front four, is better. And so he's going to have to, but he's got that intermediate passing game too. He's actually been going longer. Right. If you look at the stats, PFF put out the stat today that, when you look at Derek Carr and you look at the Raiders, they are going longer more, which is what Raiders fans have wanted for years. But at the same time, he hasn't been going in the middle very much when you're talking about between 9 and 15 yards. I think against the Eagles, we'll see more of that. Of course, Darren Waller will get doubled. But when you have Hunter Renfrow, you can also take Henry Ruggs. Despite his speed in college at Alabama, he did a lot of crossing patterns, a lot of short routes, getting him in open space one-on-one where he create yards after the catch. So I think that's going to be their game plan against the Eagles, is to really attack the middle there and that intermediate zone. And if you can get them to bite up, then you can go long.
Right. And I mean, we were just talking about like the run defense before, and that's honestly not something you really have to worry about when it comes to the Eagles. We don't run the ball with our running backs for some reason.
Right.
Even last week, Miles Sanders had 1 carry at halftime for 1 yard. That was it. The coach is like, "Nah, we're going to do that. We'll run RPOs." And all you have to really worry about is Hurts. And it's kind of scary for us Eagles fans, because that means he's getting hit a lot more than he should. But then I was looking at a random stat today, and it showed that the Eagles are like 15th in rush yards per game, which kind of baffles me, and that you guys are the 30th when it comes to rush yards per game. And you guys have both Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake, and Kenyon Drake is considered a fantasy guy, a guy that could be a starter on any other team, and you have that double tandem there. Has it not been clicking for the run game? Have you guys just been passing a lot more? What's kind of going on there?
A little bit of everything, but I'm glad you brought up Kenyon Drake, because I'm about to get on my soapbox and point into the camera and say, I told you so, because and it's funny because suddenly a bunch of journalists who are covering the Raiders are now coming out and saying, oh, players they wanted Drake to play more. John Gruden didn't use him. He signs him to a big deal, considering that as a free agent, he's going to be your second running back.
Right.
Guaranteed 11 million this year, 8 million next year. And they don't use him. So myself and my co-host on the radio shows that we do, Mo Moten, who writes for Bleacher Report, for the last 3 weeks, every show we've been saying, where is Kenyon Drake? Why aren't they using Kenyon Drake? Okay. So they finally use him, and look what happens. He has a great game. And because Kenyon Drake, not only can he run the ball, I mean, you remember the days from Miami, you remember the days from Arizona early on when they were using him. He can run the ball, but he's also a great receiver coming out of the backfield. So the Raiders, because of the offensive line issues they've had, and because Josh Jacobs, frankly, has not been 100% healthy, and that's been his problem through his short career, is they've had to go to that short pass. They have not been able to establish the run, which is what John Gruden liked to do so much. Now, this past week, they did it, but they also do what I think you have to do, and I think the Eagles could do this a little more, frankly, is not just run Jalen Hurts, right? But also to take short passing game, get those running backs out, get them the ball as quick. It's just as good as a 3 or 4 yard gain when you throw a quick bubble screen or you throw a quick screen as you check down and get 3 or 4 yards on first or second down versus running the ball. If you're not able to establish the run, then do that. But I think now with Drake and with the new play caller, who's Greg Olson, the offensive coordinator, because Gruden was calling the plays and most people thought it was just a little too conservative. Now they've taken the lid off, and the day they do that, Kenyon Drake goes nuts, right? And has a big day for them. So I think you're going to see more of him in the passing game, and I think you'll also see him more in the running game. And with Josh Jacobs, man, let me tell you, this is the best kid in the world. He's a great guy, a great player, but I just still don't think he's healthy. If you watch him run, if he gets loose, yes, he turns on a little bit of the afterburner, but he doesn't have that step and that quick jaunt that you want from him that he's always had in the past. So I still think that turf toe and the ankle injury he got early in the year is bothering him.
Well, hopefully. I mean, you never want an injury.
You want somebody to get hurt, yeah.
But, I mean, if it slows them down, I'll take it because our linebackers need all the help possible. Now, before I get you out of here, what's one thing that you think is the key to victory for you guys? And what's one thing that you kind of like thinking about Philly? Because obviously you look at your schedule and you're like, all right, they might give us trouble in this. What are those two things for you?
Well, two things. I'm going to start with the Eagles. I think the Eagles, if they can really disrupt Derek Carr and pressure with those great guys that they have up front, if they can create that pressure and disrupt him so that he doesn't have much time to throw and force the Raiders to do things that they don't want to do, then the Eagles are going to have a good day. I do think that the other thing they're going to have to do, and the Raiders have to do, is get Darren Waller going. Now, Darren Waller's taken on less of a role because he's being doubled, and that's why you're seeing Bryan Edwards and you're seeing Henry Ruggs and you're seeing Kenyon Drake get more passes. But make no mistake, as good as those guys are, Darren Waller is the best guy on the field for the Raiders. And I would think with this defense that Philly has, that you guys have there with that linebacking core, they're going to go for that middle route passing game. So if they can get Darren Waller involved early on, I think that's going to be big. The other key to this game, I really believe, is going to be takeaways. It was in Denver. The Raiders have been terrible at it, but they got 3 interceptions against Teddy Bridgewater on Sunday. And so if they can get Hurts uncomfortable, make him throw the ball, make him throw downfield a little more than he wants to, especially under pressure, then they can try to create some takeaways, excuse me, if I could spit it out. So yeah, I think those are the keys to the game. And the Raiders have to keep that mental focus. They came out, they were all in because of the Gruden stuff last week. Now they got to carry it over. This is the kind of game that always scares me for a team because they come off that big emotion. They go out and have a big win in the division. And then the Eagles come to town, okay? And it's the NFL, so anybody can win a game on any given Sunday, right? That's why they say it that way. And so I think the Raiders have to be careful. If they can keep that intensity, we'll have a good, close game. If they don't, then Philly could take advantage of it and try to run up and down the field.
Man, I hope so, because this is a must-win for us on our side. We need this win if we're going to be competitive. Unless we are being sneaky and we're really tanking this season, the only way we're going to be competitive is if we win this game, because we played our toughest part of the schedule so far. And obviously, when we were looking at our schedule, like, oh, maybe we could beat the Raiders, but then you guys are coming out on fire this season. So now everything's just kind of up and down. They
got to use Sanders, right? I mean, they got to run him. I don't know why. And I got to admit, I'm biased. He's on my fantasy team, which of course has done me nothing. So they got to run him. I mean, I think the Raiders are susceptible to the run. So if I'm the Eagles, I would do some stuff with Sanders, but with the speed that the Raiders have on defense, I'd also worry about Hurts getting hurt. And so you want to protect him. So if you can hand off the ball to Sanders and let him do his thing, I think that's a good mix for Philly to try to get their offense rolling.
All right, man. Well, it's been a pleasure. I'm glad that we were able to connect again. I mean, you came on the mock draft series and you're willing to come back. So your family on the show and everyone that's watching, make sure you guys go follow him. His Twitter handle is right there below him. All his links will be in the description. And I mean, go check it out. They'll have some Philly content on there, trying to see what the enemy is saying this week. But if this is content you guys like, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe. But until next time, fly, Eagles, fly, and we're out here. Peace.
First of all, I love how Brandon uses my outro. I'm just gonna say that live on air right now. No, that's my guy. That was a great interview by my guy Brandon, man. Shout out to Scott. Scott's a great guy. We love having him on the show. Let's get to some of these questions or comments, I should say, before we get into the Devin Caney interview. We'll go up a little bit. Richie says, simultaneously watching the NBC Sports Philly live stream of Nick Sirianni, less than 100 views, YouTuber LB. Shout out to Lord Brunson with over 450 viewers. Fans are not taking the Knicks. You know, Nick Sirianni's been saying a lot, but he hasn't been changing. So he said this week, the one thing that I'm keying in on this week that he said is that he's looking at the run-pass ratio and he's looking at, you know, in how he can improve that. So what that says to me is you're going to run the ball. At some point, that has to mean you're going to run the ball. You know, and take the decision out of Jalen's hands. Stop the RPOs. It is what it is. Jalen Hurts seems like a guy that is going to see a play even if there's not a play there. So we have to, at some point, take it out of his hands and make it easier for him. Convert truly says, I also wonder when Tyree Jackson's coming back. So Tyree Jackson and Kayvon Wallace, they just got the 21-day window activated. So basically what that means is they got 3 weeks, or if they don't put them on the active roster, then they have to go on IR for the season. I believe that's still the case. So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully, you know, we can get these guys going soon. With Dallas Goedert listed as questionable, Jack Stahl is on the path to be a starter this week. Kroom and Jackson is listed on IR, might play some tight end snaps this week. If Jack Stahl plays, then I think that's even more of a reason to run the ball. I think coming out of college, he was more of a run blocker anyways, more of a pass blocker anyways. He did have some receiving highlights, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to the guy. He's a great guy, but I think that's even more of a reason to run the ball. Maybe Dillard as a blocking tight end. You can run some packages like that. Lack of traditional tight end might mean an excuse to not run the ball. I hope not, because it doesn't make sense. At some point, you have to run against this team. Just like Scott was saying, just like Brandon was saying, man, this team, again, we're going against another team that is weak against the run. We have to take advantage of it this time. Eagles have not had a good run game since Westbrook. I mean, even then, he was more of a catcher, excuse me. He was more of a receiving back. You know, we had LaShawn McCoy go crazy, and he was barely used in our opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, that man should have been getting 25 snaps or 25 touches a game easily, and he wasn't. We've never had, which, you know, me and Devin kind of go over a little bit. We've never really had a team or a front office or a organization, if it's that deep, that really cares about the run or values the run. They value having a vertical offense. So, you know, it might be deeper than we all think. I really am getting to that point that I'm starting to think it's a lot deeper than we all think. Noah to go, I can't say his name, will be this year's Kroom. I think the tight end position, we were able to really scheme it open over the past couple years. I think Doug Peterson did a very good job of scheming, you know, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert open, as does, I can't say that, you know, Sirianni. I mean, Sirianni's, it's tough because I feel like there's a lot of people that aren't getting the targets when they are open. So it's tough to say if they're getting schemed open because sometimes you're not looking at them. So you'd really have to like break down every single play. Matt Corral would definitely hit open Devontae and Quez deep. Hey, who's y'all team MVP so far? I'm going to say Javon Hargrave right now. Eagles signed tight end Richard Rodgers to the practice squad. He's a good option. Every time he comes onto our team, he produces, excuse me. So he's a veteran, but he's still kind of young, you know what I'm saying? But he always produces. So I'm down with it. I'm down with it. And shout out to everybody that's in here. I do appreciate you guys coming back because I know we had a little bit of technical difficulties the first time I tried to do this, but y'all know I couldn't give up that hard or that easy, I should say. Dude, these top quarterbacks coming out are like 6 feet tall. We need somebody who can see past the O-line. I feel you. And look, I've said it before. Maybe this isn't the year that you put all your draft stock into a quarterback. Maybe this is the year that you say, all right, we're going to give Hurts one more year, see what happens, but we're going to build our team. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get some linebackers. We're going to get young at the cornerback position. We're going to get some, whatever else you feel you need on the offensive side. I really don't think the offense is that far away. I think that you have a good set of running backs. You have a good young one in Kenneth Gainwell. You have a guy that you have an option to re-sign in Miles Sanders if you ever want to use him. You have wide receivers that are young and have talent. I mean, your number 3 shouldn't matter that much, but I think Jalen Reagor has the potential to be our number 3. I know as a first round pick, that's hard to kind of swallow as a fan, but it is what it is. You got to eat that. It is what it is. You want to see a guy that can produce. So you put him at number 3. You got Quez and Devontae as your 1 and 2. I feel confident about that. If Tyree Jackson is who they say he is, you got Dallas Goedert and Tyree Jackson. So it seems like you won't miss much of a step by losing Zach Ertz at that position. So I feel like the offense is closer than we think. It's about scheme, it's about scheme and quarterback play. The quarterback's got to definitely got to make something happen. Can somebody ship Nick a run there? He needs it, man. He needs it, man. Links are all in the description. Definitely go get that shirt. I got to get me one. Who says how he's going to get a linebacker? I doubt he will. I mean, we just, there's certain things that we've never seen happen with this team. So until I see it happen, I'm not going to, put my money on it. Maybe he'll get one in like the 2nd round or the 3rd round, but I don't think he'll go for the top guy. But who knows? Maybe one day, and we need that one. I made a joke about it when I was talking to Devin Caney about we need that moment that is kind of like that aha moment, like that SpongeBob moment where you're like, that's what we've been waiting that's what we've been waiting for. Just the simplicity of football is what we've been waiting for. I feel like we've talked about this last year with the smartest guy in the room mentality coming from Howie Roseman, and we're continuously seeing it. So it has to change. It has to change. Why did you guys trade Ertz? The writing was on the wall. It was going to happen. It is what it is. 23 for 112. Raiders gave up 4.9 yards per rush versus the Broncos. This is a team we could run on, I feel like. This is definitely a team we can run on. And looking at their offense the last couple weeks at least, obviously they don't have Gruden anymore, but the way that they at least hand the ball off, like Josh Jacobs is getting like 60 yards a game, but he's getting the ball 15 plus times. They're running the ball with their running back a smooth 20 plus times every game. You know what I'm saying? Nick, just do that. Just do that. Make it simple. Take it week by week. Like I feel like he looked at what Jalen Hurts was and just was. He looked at what Jalen Hurts was and just said, this is what you're going to be. This is what you're always going to be. There's no development in you, so I'm going to give you the easiest offense possible. And sometimes it's too easy. Sometimes you make it so easy that it gets complicated because these players want to make plays. So give them options out there. This whole one guy out there on a route, it's not working for us. You have to make adjustments. But we're going to get into this Devin Caney interview. Definitely be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe if you are new. But without any further ado, look at that. I can rap a little bit. What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and this is Philly the podcast. So as you can see, we have a very special guest with us today. We have Devin Caney. Devin, how's it going? Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Thanks for having me on. Going well, enjoying this kind of long break from the Eagles crushing my soul. So doing pretty well. But then we have the Sixers who are also
I was just gonna say, Philly sports never seems to disappoint. They're gonna find a way to get you upset. So, but no, like you said, we did have a mini bye of sorts, right? We had a couple of days off going into this Raiders game, so we'll talk about a little bit about that. But before we get into that, please let the people know, if they don't know you already, where they can find you, what you do, and who you are.
Yeah, for sure. So Twitter handle is right down here. My Instagram handle is that, just without the little underscore. I'm a sports reporter. I co-host the Eagles Live post-game show alongside Derek Gunn, Mark Farzetta, and Lane Johnson when he wasn't taking his hiatus. Hopefully we'll have him back. That is on the Jacob Media YouTube channel and 6abc.com 3 minutes after every Eagles game. So tune into that. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers it.
There we go. You have many hats, so you could have went on for hours, I'm sure. But shout out to Derek Gunn. We've had him on the show a couple of times. Very good friend of the show. Very, legend in his own right. But let's get into some Philadelphia Eagles, right? We're 6 weeks into the Eagles season. Obviously, not the best of times, not the greatest start in the world. But looking back on the first 6 weeks, how do you see this Eagles team, and how are you feeling going into week 7?
I'm going to actually go back to something that Derek Gunn has repeated time and time again on our post-game show, and that's, what did you expect from this team? I think it's unfortunate that they got our hopes up with the first game against the Falcons. They looked great. They also had their full roster healthy. So I think we just need to be patient with them. I'm not saying I'm throwing in the towel on this season. I think it's frustrating because I see potential. They're just very young, and the coaching staff is very young. I think that's the biggest thing that, especially when people are being very quick to judge Jalen Hurts as a quarterback. Something we all have to keep in mind is that, we're still figuring out Nick Sirianni and what his deal is, if he's a good coach, if he's not. I think he's still trying to figure that out as well. So I think it's a season of just learning who this team is. But honestly, if you look back on all of our games so far this season, you can't say that there isn't potential in this team. I know it's been frustrating and it's been heartbreaking and soul crushing, as I mentioned, but the fact that we are able to hang with some of these teams, get within 6 points of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, get pretty close to the Chiefs, I think that's promising, not just for this season, but for seasons moving forward.
Definitely. And you brought up Jalen Hurts, obviously the leader of a young team. And a lot of people, look, Philadelphia is a very impatient sports city, and we all know this, but a lot of people are either all in or all out on him right now. But where do you sit on Jalen Hurts, and what have you seen from him so far?
I'm neither all in or all out. I don't like the crowd that's all out. I don't know if you're a part of that crowd. I think it's I like him. I want him to succeed. I think he has issues with accuracy and seeing the field, but he's also getting absolutely no favors from the play calling, from the scheme, from injuries, from his O-line, that we call it musical offensive line, that's kind of just been shifting around every game. Hopefully with Lane coming back, that changes a little bit. But I think Nick Sirianni isn't doing Jalen Hurts any favors in terms of play calling and maximizing his talent. What I love from what I've seen from Jalen Hurts is his mentality. He does not get rattled. He's essentially a rookie quarterback. I know he played games last year, but this is his first season as, full quarterback number one. And in all of these games, probably aside from Dallas, where we did see him get a little down, he is what Mark Farzetta says Jalen Hurts is mentally on steroids. Just for someone so young, especially, doesn't let it get to him like Carson Wentz often did. Just kind of keeps grinding. And I love that. And that's why I think we're able to bounce back. I wish we could get ahead earlier so we don't have to rely on him to kind of bounce back with the whole team. But I like that aspect of him, and I want Jalen Hurts to succeed. So I'm pro Jalen Hurts.
Definitely. And I will say, because I know people are going to start watching this and be like, Joe, but I am very critical of Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to lie, but that's because I do see so much potential in him. I think that as fans and as football people, we have to be a little bit critical. We have to realistically see what's going on and what he can improve upon. But like you said, I think that the potential is there. And I think that if he gets a little bit of help, which we're going to talk about now from his head coach, I think he could do even better. But, moving on to Nick Sirianni, obviously, you said it well. This is a very young team. He's still learning. Everyone's still learning around him. So I feel like it may be a little early to really put a nail in the coffin on anybody, right? But what are you seeing out of Nick Sirianni so far? Where do you think he can improve, and what do you think he's done well so far?
You can definitely improve on running the ball more, coming up with more creative plays. I don't know. Before the season, I loved, and I like his energy. I know people call it pandering with his t-shirts and stuff, but I love that. I've called him the Ted Lasso of the NFL. I don't know if you've ever watched Ted Lasso, but just a great leader, like a guy who, is not just a coach, but friends with his players. And I do like that about him. I think he's been outmatched coaching wise in every game that we've played, maybe aside from the Falcons game. And that concerns me. Like if you came to me, and back to your point about Jalen Hurts, I agree. I don't think he's perfect. I just don't like the crowd. And you know how Philly fans can be, that, call for someone's head immediately, like give it some time. And I think if after this season, I think we definitely need to wait a full season before making any judgment calls here. If someone's head were to roll, I would probably point to Nick Sirianni over Jalen Hurts or any other coach. I don't love what I've seen so far. And I just don't love that, in these press conferences, when he's asked about the lack of run, the lack of offensive scheme, to me, there's no rhythm to this offense. There's no, I don't even want to say personality, but like, we have no identity. And he doesn't really answer the question. He's always like, I think we'll just keep doing what we're doing. And that concerns me because you always want to see progress, especially with a young coach and a young team.
Definitely. And I know you're a Philly fan, so I know you've been through the turmoil of seeing a lot of coaches, not run the ball. So I want to ask you this question. Do you think it's becoming more of an organizational, maybe ideal, that it's not what they want to do as far as running the ball? Or do you think it is these coaches that we're bringing in that is just their philosophy to not run the ball?
Side note, sorry, I have NFL Network on behind me. Forgot to turn that off. So I've actually brought up this point time and time again on our post-game show. And Mark Farzetta, who has been, in Philly sports media forever, very familiar with the organization, always points his finger at Jeffrey Lurie. Jeffrey Lurie apparently loves running the ball. I mean, passing the ball, not running the ball. We saw with Andy Reid, apparently after when Doug Peterson was coach, I think it was in 2019 when we beat the Green Bay Packers and we beat them by running the ball. Jeffrey Lurie apparently pulled Doug Peterson aside and said, why did you run the ball so much? That's just the kind of offense that the guys at the top want. And I think it's our biggest downfall. And Mark brought up this point where a coach like Doug Peterson might push back a little bit. A seasoned coach like Andy Reid might push back a bit, but Andy Reid doesn't like running the ball anyways. But Nick Sirianni is a rookie head coach. He has no leverage. So he's going to be a yes man. So when the owner of a team is saying, pass the ball, I don't like running, he's going to say, okay, because he has no leverage in this situation. He's a first-year head coach. They could fire him in a second, and he might not get hired again. So I definitely think it comes from the top, and like that sucks and is very frustrating because there's nothing you can do about it. Like Nick Sirianni could be frustrated himself because he knows he can't do anything about it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a stinky situation. Sticky and stinky at the same time. Stinky and sticky, two S's. But I do want to get a little bit, positive. We are looking at the later end of our schedule, and if you look at it, it feels like there's winnable games, right? I mean, we went through a really rough first 6 games. I think looking at the schedule in the beginning of the year, we all knew this first 6 games would be kind of hard. But now going into this later part of our schedule, how do you feel about these games? Do you think that I know Brandon Graham was on your show and said that they're still going to be making the playoffs. So how do you feel about that? Do you think that this is a team that can make a late season run?
Yes and no. I love BG's positivity. And if you watch, casual plug for our show, it's on YouTube. If you go back and watch that full interview, like Brandon Graham I love him. He's so positive, but he did keep it real. And he did say some things that were pretty revealing about, coaching and schemes. I do think it's interesting that, we had like the Chiefs, the Bucks, and we haven't played Washington football team. We haven't played the Giants yet. So I think we could. I mean, I think for morale, it'd be nice to make like wild card, but we're not gonna make it far in the playoffs. I can tell you that. Just being honest about that. So I think there's potential. Like, I'm very glad. John McMullen always says, the best part about the Chiefs game is that it's over. Like, we face them and now we can move on. And I think I can sense frustration from the players because they know, like I said, and I don't know if you agree with me, like I see glimpses of what this team could be. And it's so frustrating because it's all just kind of not being able to execute, penalties, poor play calling. So like they're so close. And if they can get that together this season, then I think they could go on a run.
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely see potential in this team. And it's like you said, upsetting because I feel like they're a good team that can be a good run team. And that's why I bring up the organizational, ideal, because I feel like that's not what we want to be. So it doesn't matter how good we can be at it, because that's just not what we want. But who knows? 2017, I know a lot of the veterans went up to the coaching staff and kind of demanded some change. So maybe that happens this year. But I want to stick on a little bit of what Brandon Graham was saying, because like you did say, he did keep it pretty real in that interview. And he did bring up Jonathan Gannon's personnel or lack thereof. So I want to ask you, because he said it too. He said it too, that he doesn't feel he has the personnel to run certain sets. What do you think this defense is lacking the most? What do you think can really help this defense next year?
Everything but linebackers. Like linebackers, like draft. I know we're trying to get more and more draft picks, like draft a linebacker first, because we have that's probably the most frustrating thing to me about watching this Eagles team is I think the offense, like it's fixable things sometimes, like running the ball and, executing and not getting penalties that call back touchdowns. But the defense, it's like, especially stopping the other team's run game. I'm so sick of week in and week out watching running backs from the opposing team just slice through our defense like hot butter. And there's nothing we can do about it because we don't have the players to correct it. Like that, it's not scheme. And I'm glad Gannon did some man coverage, less zone. That's not really a big issue to me because we don't have the talent no matter what the scheme is on defense. Brandon Graham said that himself. Like he was fully supportive of Gannon. And I actually was questioning Gannon for a while. And then after talking to Brandon, it kind of changed my mind because I was like, oh, I guess he's right. Gannon's not working with any of the type of players that he likes to use in a defensive scheme. So I would say linebacker for sure. But like literally help all over the field.
Yeah, we definitely need a little makeover, makeover would hurt. And it feels like we've kind of neglected that linebacker spot for a good half a decade at least. Like, I mean, the last player I can think of is Jordan Hicks, and we gave him up for nothing. So it is definitely something I know a lot of my subscribers always are, we need a linebacker. So I know they're going to love your answer. But there are positives, right? I want to keep, going back on the positives because like you said, there is potential on this team. So I kind of want to ask you, who are some players or, player, if it's that, solo, but who on this team is sticking out to you? Is there anybody that you're looking at like, wow, he's going to be the future of the Eagles?
Well, Devontae Smith, obviously, but Quez Watkins has been outstanding to me. And I actually want to see him more. I think we could, if we're so insistent on passing the ball, then pass to Quez, pass to Devontae every time. Don't try to use Rager. Rager, I know he's improved a little bit this season, but Greg Ward, I think that Watkins and Devontae Smith have been outstanding this season, all things considered, especially. Our tight ends, I'm very sad Zach Ertz is no longer here, but Dallas Goedert, for the most part, has been doing well, even though I think he's still on the COVID list. Let me think. Who else? It's tough. Oh, our punters. Aaron Sipas has been really good.
Aaron Sipas is the go. We had Aaron Sipas on the show, man. He's actually a really good dude. He's like the funniest guy in the world, man. So
is he?
I'm happy
wow.
to see it.
Okay.
Yeah, he came from So he came from Australia, obviously, but he went to Alabama straight from Australia. So like I knew him coming to Philly was going to be no problem for him because he's been all over the world. So it's nice seeing him do well, to be honest. It sucks that your punter is one of your best players.
Right,
but
right. But
he's been doing very well.
Great. Yeah.
It's fun watching him.
It is. And I feel like I'm forgetting someone here. So who's yours? Who am I forgetting?
I mean, we could say Javon Hargrave. He's still young, right? He's still young.
Yeah.
Even the O-line, like how are you feeling about Andre Dillard? I mean, Andre Dillard went into that left tackle spot, didn't look terrible. He didn't look terrible.
I think if you said you have to trust Andre Dillard with your life on the O-line, I would not. I'm still a little bit hesitant about that. And I don't like that we had to rearrange the O-line basically for him because he couldn't switch sides while Jordan Mailata was like, sure, I'll do it. And Mailata, I know, is coming off a small injury, but still like it hasn't been playing his best on the other side. Hopefully with Lane coming back, they'll switch that back. But that bothers me. I know I gave him a hard time for that penalty that called back. I forget who got it. Maybe it was Zach Ertz's touchdown a few games ago. And Mark and Derek were like, no, like that was good. And they came to his defense. So I know he's been playing a little bit better. But I would not classify Andre Dillard as someone who's been standing out as like, oh wow, he's a really good player this season.
I respect that. Well, Jordan Mailata's done good on the left side. I think that's something that we could at least agree there. So another, we're going into game day now, right? It's we're a couple days away. Raiders are on the schedule. What are you looking at that team? Obviously, they're a Grudenless team now, coachless team, coming off a big win for them, which I don't think anybody really expected them to go out there and do that. But what are you looking at for this Eagles team to go out there and do? Do you think that there's a certain game plan or a certain aspect of our team that we have to really hone in to beat these Raiders? And do you think we can beat these Raiders?
I think we can. I think, again, we almost beat the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs record isn't fully, representing how explosive their offense is, but we've almost beat really good teams. I don't think the Raiders are an incredible team. I think they're a good team. And I think the biggest thing for me, like I kind of mentioned before, is just seeing progress. Even if we don't win, I want to see progress. So I want to see more unique and creative play calling, hopefully including more of a run game. And I want to see the offense be able to execute that. I want to see all of our defense step up more. And I think if we get all those pieces together, then we can win this game. Again, it's just kind of, goes back to this team being so young and still trying to figure out their identity. I think once we do that, we're going to be good. And I think that's the hard thing about this season. I don't know if you feel the same way in terms of like predicting these games. I have a really hard time because with this team, you never know, right? Like I never would have guessed that they would have come back and gotten within 6 points of the Bucs last Thursday. So it's so hard for me to say because you just never know what Jalen Hurts you're going to get. You never know what the play calling is going to be. You don't know if the O-line is going to be good or bad or who's going to play, who's not going to play. So it's a tough one for sure. I hope they win.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like it's going to be, I hate to make it this like high or kindergarten, I guess, but there's like that one meme of SpongeBob where he finally makes a hamburger and everybody's just like, that's what we've been waiting for. Once Nick Sirianni has that game that he runs the ball with Booby 20 plus times and we come out with a win, I feel like, the Eagles and the fan base will find that's what we've been waiting for. So I think once they get it in their mind that that's what they kind of have to do to kind of help Jalen Hurts out and help this young team out, I think we can surprise some teams. I definitely think so. But the last question I want to ask is kind of a selfish one. I'm not going to lie. It's for me and my audience. Like I said, you've been doing a lot of great things over there with Jacob Media and on your own. So I kind of want to ask you, just what advice would you give to any of my subscribers or me trying to do what you're doing and just advice in general, because like I said, you're doing an awesome job. And I know a lot of people are definitely looking up to you right now. So.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice, first of all. I would say just you're already doing it. Like create the content that you want to create and all the opportunities will come. I think, I've always worked in sports, but I also cover, lacrosse. I'm from Philly. I've been a Philly sports fan my whole life. I think I just started like tweeting and posting more about Philly sports one day. And I think just start acting and creating content for the job that you want, and eventually it'll come. And I think it's, I'm just so honored and flattered that people like you ask me that question, because I've asked that question. I still ask that question to everyone that I know and look up to. And yeah, just keep doing your thing. And eventually, these opportunities will come, and have fun with it. I think that's the most important part.
Definitely. Well, this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate your time, Devin. This was very insightful and a lot of fun. And hopefully we can get you on again sometime.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This was so fun. Go Birds.
Definitely. So shout out to everybody that's watching, tuning in. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, and go check out Jacob Media. I promise you will not be disappointed. I was a little disappointed because they gave out season tickets. I didn't win them, but it's okay. It is what not everybody can win, right? But other than that, like I said, I appreciate everybody, man. Be sure to, keep it coming back. And other than that, man, y'all know what it is. It is Fly Eagles Fly. And we are out of here. Peace. Yes, sir. So shout out to Devin Caney. That was a really fun interview. She's a really cool. She does great work, to be honest. She's really cool too. So let's get to my opinions, all right, and then we'll head out of here. So let's get to my opinions. One more time, I just do want to thank Scott Gelbrunson for coming on the show, Devin Caney for coming on the show, giving their insight. This is where I'm at. Okay, I have it on the board, y'all. I have it on the board. I don't know if y'all can read that. I put it up on my Twitter. The Eagles are going to go 7-4 in their last 11 games, and it starts today. I feel like they can win 9 games this year. I don't feel like the schedule is that tough, and I feel like this is a game that they can take advantage of. A lot like what was said in these interviews, man. Nick Sirianni has gotten out coached outside of the one game that he was going against a young coach. So he's going to be going up against an offensive coordinator that had to get thrown into the fire because now you don't have a coach. So I think that last week's win for the Oakland Raiders, and it's Oakland, excuse me, see how old I am, the Las Vegas Raiders, I think that was more of an emotional thing. That was more of a, riding high off of an emotion. Everybody wanted to band together. I don't see that happening again this week. I know that they're at home, but that's not really going to be their home. We know that Philadelphia fans are going to be there in drones. So I think that we have to, at some point, and I'm going to make this the point, we have to at some point realize what we're doing wrong. And I'm not saying that it's going to be a blowout. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be a good game because I do think that Derek Carr and a lot of the veterans that they have on that offensive side will carry them to a certain extent on the field. Because no matter how easy or how hard you make the play calls, you have veterans out there to execute them. We don't necessarily have that right now. So I'm still looking at this defense as a defense that can win us some games. So this is a game that I think that the defense goes out there and plays their butt off and wins us this game. That's where I'm at with this team right now. So if I had to put a number on it, I'm going to say the Eagles probably win 26-20. That's where I'm at right now. I say 26-20. I don't think it'll be a crazy offensive output, but I think the defense will put them in a lot of good situations. I think, we'll win the field position battle most of the time if we get the ball moving a little bit. So as long as we move the ball a little bit on offense, don't punt out of your own end zone. I think that we can help our defense on the offensive side like that. But on the defensive side, I think they'll put your offense in good enough positions to maybe steal some points from this team. And I don't think that Oakland has a voracious defense. I don't think that, Oakland has a defense I'm too afraid of. Outside of their front four, I think they're beatable. So this is the game that I think that our defense will carry us. But I also can see this offense getting off because this is not a great defense. So it comes down to Sirianni, it comes down to Gannon, it comes down to the coaching schemes and them utilizing the players they have. But I have more faith in this defense than I do in this offense. So if this offense can prove me wrong, I've said this before, I think that we have a very good team. I said that before. I think that we have a very good team if this offense can somehow get it into gear. I just haven't seen it happen yet, and I think that the catalyst is the run game, and I know that we're allergic to the run game. So until they, change that philosophy and they prove me wrong with my mindset of what this organization is, that's what I'm going to be thinking. So we'll see what happens, but you guys let me know in the comments who you guys think are going to win. What's your score prediction, man? I appreciate all you guys sticking in there because, like I said, I know there was some technical difficulties in the beginning of all this, but we're getting better. We're getting better. I feel like we're getting better. So, keep on coming back and keep on joining the ride. Hit that subscribe, hit that like, and fly Eagles fly. We out here. Peace!
Eagles everywhere. This is for you.
Fly Eagles fly. On the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling with Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like a Sean